Okay, I think we're ready. So if you just want to get started, we have safety matters right now. So Lieutenant Beck here to talk to us about safety on campus and everything in regards to that. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to her.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I am doing this from home, so I'm hoping I've already dealt with the one issue that I was worried about, which is my son playing video games in the room next door. Hopefully we have no dogs barking, no packages being delivered, because if that happens, my dogs will go through a 9-octave sing a song that they have to sing to the delivery guy. So keeping my fingers crossed we can get through this. I thank you all for joining us and taking time out of your day to talk about safety. My name is Corinne Beck. I'm clearly not Chief John Reed. I'm a lieutenant at University Police. I've been there for going on 16 years. So I've been doing the summer O presentations since 2006, but never online till this year. So bear with me, I'm not super computer literate. Here we go. So I'm sure you're joining us today because you're curious about safety. We are concerned as well about safety. That is what we're there for, is to make sure that as many of our students as possible graduate, that they feel safe while they're there, that they are safe while they're there, as well as the rest of our campus community and folks who live off campus and visit the campus as well. So we know it's an exciting time for them. We know it can be a challenging time, and it can be a very overwhelming time for you, the parents, as well, who are not with them. So hopefully this presentation will help put your minds at ease a little bit, or a lot. Let's hope for a lot. One thing you're probably wanting to know is the statistics. And so we have an annual security report. It has our crime stats. It has the security procedures we have, the crime prevention programs, talks about alcohol and drug information, sexual violence, emergency notifications, missing students. We'll talk about those last two here in a future slide. So if you want to find out more information about the annual security reports from the past, and I know that the new one is about to be released. We're just working on finalizing some of the verbiage for the crime prevention programs. You can Google what it says there, Chico State Annual Security Report. We are located right across the street from the campus, just across the street to the south at the intersection of West 2nd Street and Chestnut. Our staff are police officers that have the same training as the police officers or sheriff's deputies in the area where you live. We have 911 dispatchers that are on duty 24/7, as well as at least 2 police officers. So there's always at least 3 staff members on duty at any given time, and that includes holidays, overnights, etc. Our primary duty is the enforcement of state law on the grounds or the properties owned by the university, but we also have concurrent jurisdiction with the city of Chico, so we can go within a mile of enforcement from every boundary of the campus. So that pretty much encompasses the majority of the city where our students tend to live, especially to the south and immediate north of the campus. So if the students see us out there enforcing traffic or making contacts, that's part of our concurrent jurisdiction that we share with the city. Primarily though, we're on the campus, we're driving through the campus, we're checking the parking lots, and we're just trying to make sure that no property is being tampered with, and make sure everybody is safe and getting home safely, getting from wherever they're traveling from to wherever they're going in a safe manner. While we have the same training as any other officers or deputies in the state, our focus is more on educational policing. So we try to figure out what is the most effective way to handle a situation, which is not always, in fact, usually not the most punitive. So we try to look at whether something can be solved by perhaps working with one of our campus partners. We work really close with our campus Office of Student Conduct. And we try to figure out, how do we keep something from happening again while not necessarily having our students end up with criminal records. So we look at each case individually, but if we can handle something educationally, we will handle it that way. That's not always an option, but when it is, that's the option that we will prefer to go with. We work with a lot of campus partners. These are some of them. Our Accessibility Resource Center is loaded with options and resources for students with disabilities. There's a basic needs project, which does exactly that, helps students who are struggling in those areas. Counseling and Wellness Center, Health Center, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, those are pretty self-explanatory. The off-campus student services is for students who aren't living with us in campus housing. There's a liaison to help work with landlords and such. The care team is for students who are having any kind of emotional or behavioral issues. They're brought to our attention. We try to intervene and see what resources they might need, with, once again, the goal being we get them successfully through that issue, and hopefully they go on to graduate. Safe Place is an office on campus that specializes in sexual assault, domestic violence, and stalking issues. We work really closely with them. And then the campus also has an alcohol and drug education center, which has resources and programming along those lines. So you might have already heard about some of these in other presentations, but I just wanted to highlight that we work really well with these organizations on campus as well. We all have the same goal, which is the success and the safety of our students. So people always ask, is Chico State safe? I will tell you, I believe it's safe, but I also believe that any city is as safe as you make it. So what we ask you to talk to your students about is, if they wouldn't do something at home, they probably shouldn't do it in Chico. People are coming from different areas. So for some people, Chico is like the biggest town they've been in. And then other folks are like, wow, this is a really little area. But for the most part, it's safe. There are just some general safety tips, probably no different than the things you've told them since they were little. And we'll go over a couple of those that you might want to reinforce with them. I have a student who has attended the university, and I wouldn't have let him go there if I didn't believe it was safe. So we can be reached. This is our non-emergency number. Once again, for any emergencies, please have your students call 911. It may go to University Police, it may go to the City of Chico Police, and it may go to CHP. It doesn't matter. Whoever answers is trained to figure out what the correct jurisdiction is to forward that call. This number, the 898-5555, is for non-emergencies, and the dispatcher, they're there 24/7. They can answer. They've worked there a long time, and they have a lot of knowledge of the programs and the other resources the campus has. So even if the police weren't the correct person, they can help solve this problem. They can likely refer the student or the caller to somebody who is. We hope that your students will sign up for Chico State Alerts. It's an opt-in system. It's our emergency notification. So if there was any kind of a situation that involved evacuations or sheltering in place, that could be a criminal act. More likely for us, it's going to be weather related. If it was a gas line break, anything like that, there's a group that will automatically convene and decide what the best course of action is, whether it is leave or shelter in place. And we will send out messages with what's happening and what our recommendation is. And it will be sent however they have indicated when they sign up. So they can enter a mobile number, they can enter a text message, or they can enter that they want to be texted instead. They can enter an email. For me, I have all three. So if there's anything going on the campus, even though I'm usually aware of it before the notification goes out, I still like to listen and read what's coming out and make sure that the way it comes across the system is how we intended for it to go out. So it's an opt-in. Once again, they really need to sign up for that. And if you Google Chico State Alerts, or they Google Chico State Alerts, it will take them to the sign up where they can enter their information. We try not to use it for anything besides its intended purpose. Otherwise, like anything else, if people are exposed to too many messages that weren't legitimate emergencies, they kind of become immune or numb to it. And we definitely don't want that to happen. So we aren't going to waste their time if they sign up for that. It will only be utilized as intended. Tip 411 is a relatively new resource that we offer in University Police. It's an anonymous method of reporting non-emergency situations. So we're hoping it's not used for actual emergencies because we want to make sure that we're getting those calls in real time. This sends either a text or an email to us with a tip, and we've seen it to report You know, hey, there was a bike left unattended, I'm afraid it's going to be stolen. Or, you know, I got this email, I think it's a scam. Can you send something out to all the students to let them know this scam email is going out? Things like that. But anybody can use it for whatever tip that they want to send out. And it comes to our dispatcher who's working on duty, and I'm the dispatch supervisor. So it also comes to me. And then we will resolve it however we can. Sometimes that's sending an officer out. It could be working with the City of Chico Police Department. It could be referring them to some other resource, but we always respond. We always acknowledge that we received the tip, and then sometimes we'll ask for more information, which, given the anonymous nature of this reporting mechanism, sometimes we get and sometimes we don't. But our hope is that people will utilize it if for any reason they want to report something, but they want to remain anonymous in doing so. So that's tip 411. We get into a couple slides about safety now. Social media. It's probably a good idea just to remind your students to set everything to private. They're coming from a world where they probably in high school had a lot of close friends or a close group of friends, and they trusted everybody. And we think it's important to have a private setting and then slowly start adding people as opposed to having it open. Once again, it's always going to be up to people with what they feel comfortable doing, but that's our recommendation, is that it starts off as private, and then they can add people as they get to know them and you know what their motivations are. When the university is back in session, you know, fully in person, we can't wait to offer our RAD class again. It's a self-defense course. It's for females. I've been an instructor since 2006. We love this program. We're really proud of it. It's free for the students, and we teach them how to use any weapon that they're always going to have with them. So that would be their knees, their elbows, their hands, their feet, their voice, and really teach them how to fight back if the worst case scenario happened and someone was to attack them. These types of situations are really, really rare, but we do want them to feel more prepared. You know, should this happen to them at college or 20 years from now? We've had whole generations take this class together, you know, daughter, mom, grandma, and we will always design the class. We'll modify it for anybody that has any kind of pre-existing injury. So it's a great class, and we will do a lot of advertising the next time we're able to offer it. So if your students read their student emails, we'll put it on our social media, and we'll really try to get that information out there because we cannot wait to offer this class again. It's a lot of fun. And at the end, and you can see in the picture, at the end, after we've taught them, we've done a lot of repetition, we'll put trained officers who have also gone through the instructor course into suits, and they do scenarios so the students can see how much they've learned and how powerful they really are. So once again, that's rad, and we're really proud of it, and we hope to offer it soon. Students can also consider carrying pepper spray. They have to make sure it's in a container that's 2.5 ounces or less, and that may be carried on campus. I always caution people with pepper spray or any other weapon, if they're going to carry it, fully know its functions and fully know its limitations. So pepper spray is only good within a very close distance. It's only good if it's sprayed in someone's face, primarily their eyes. So I always recommend, if someone's going to get pepper spray, they buy 2 canisters of it and go outside on a non-windy day and figure out how it works, what its range is, and get comfortable with how to use it so that they're not trying to use it for the first time in a situation where they're actually needing to try and defend themselves. And once again, these are incredibly rare that anybody would ever need to do this, but if somebody is interested in carrying that, that's what I recommend for them to be able to safely deploy it. We have a campus connection shuttle. It's a safe, free, reliable way to get students from one campus location to another campus after dark, or in the evening hours. It's not always dark when we start running it, because it starts every night at 6 and goes to midnight during the fall and spring semesters, and that includes the weekend nights. So if a student is in the library and wants to go to a dorm, or they're they're in a parking lot, maybe they have an off-campus job and they're in the parking lot and they want to go to their dorm and they don't want to walk at night, they don't have to. So we have multiple locations on the campus where we have waiting points, and all of those waiting points are near one of our blue light phones. So the students, if they happen to be there and their cell phone was not charged, for example, they would still have a way to have a direct communication with university police. So that is Campus Connection, and we hope people will utilize it. We have specially trained student officers who drive that shuttle. We encourage you to work out some type of a check-in system with your students. This may sound weird, but what we notice will happen is the first couple of weeks of school, we'll have a lot of students who are reported, quote unquote, missing, and they're not missing. They just have gotten super busy, but their parents are used to them checking in or texting, 12 times a day, 20 times a day. And then all of a sudden the student stops texting, and the parents immediately, and I'm a parent of 2 college-age students, so I totally get it, start to panic. And they're like, oh my gosh, something terrible happened. Your mind starts flashing to the last Dateline episode you watched or something. And so we'll get calls, can you please go do a welfare check? I'm really concerned something happened to my student. And we take all of those very, very seriously. So we will go to do that welfare check. And generally the student is just really busy, or maybe there's a new relationship or something like that. And then they get embarrassed because we come and find them and are like, hey, you need to call your mom. So it's just probably a good idea to work out some type of a system where they know, hey, if I text you and you don't answer me back, my natural inclination as a parent is going to be to panic. So, at least message me back and say, I'm fine or something, and then I'll know. But that's something you're going to need to work out with your students. But it happens frequently enough that we wanted to mention it in this presentation because, I've dealt with many over this almost 16 years I've worked there, very panicked parents, and then we find their student and then they're frustrated and the students are frustrated. And so it's just a good tip to work out with them before they're able to return, which hopefully they'll be coming back in person soon. I told you we share a concurrent jurisdiction with the City of Chico Police. So they are the police jurisdiction off of campus, all the way around the campus. We're right in the middle of the city, and they are our partners in law enforcement just off campus. Always in an emergency, 911 is the number, but this number in the middle of your screen in blue, that is their business line. And so if somebody wanted to make a records request or had a non-emergency situation, that would be the correct number to call. And if somebody calls our dispatchers, they'll just refer them. They can transfer them straight across. But sometimes folks want to have that direct number programmed into their phones as well. So if an issue is to happen at an off-campus apartment, for example, even if it involves 2 of our students, the City of Chico Police Department would be the place to start. And then if they feel that matter needs to come, for example, to our student conduct office or one of our other resources, they will forward that information. So general safety tips, these probably aren't going to be a surprise to you. I'm sure you've told your students these or similar since they were little. It's best to stick to well-traveled, well-populated, well-lit routes. If they are concerned about their safety, they always have the Campus Connection shuttle that will travel, that will take them, where they need to go from campus location to campus location. It's not a taxi or an Uber, but even for our University Village apartments, which are off campus, it will go there as well. There is definitely safety in numbers, and so we recommend that students, especially at night, travel with a group or travel with a friend. And by all means, they need to report things that are suspicious to us. We have officers out, they're proactive, they're driving around, they're looking. It's not a big campus, but if somebody sees something and they're like, wow, that just didn't feel right, or that doesn't look right, we ask that they report it. We'd rather go to 100 of those things that don't end up really being criminal matters or issues than to miss one that was because somebody, didn't want to report it or didn't want to act like or feel like that they were, being immature or what have you. If it makes them uncomfortable, we need to know about it, and then we can assess it and decide if it really is something that requires law enforcement response. There's emergency phones, they're blue light phones. all over the campus. We have what we call a point of sight distribution with those, where you can see the next blue light phone from any blue light phone that you're at. So if somebody was in an unsafe situation, even if all they had time to do was push the button, which establishes a direct line with University Police, all of those blue light phones have a GPS on them, so we know which one was activated. And then we will send an officer. We take them seriously. If somebody activates the phone, we send an officer as soon as we can to go check that out and see what the situation is. And we're trying to get cameras on all of them. A lot of them have cameras already, but that's a plan that the university has, is to put cameras on all of those so we can see immediately what is happening and why that phone, why that blue light phone might have been activated. As far as their apartments and dorms, they should probably keep their dorm rooms locked. Their roommates may bring people in that they're not comfortable with, so any valuables should be locked up until they get to know people. There's always that first couple weeks of, I need to figure out who this person is, if they're trustworthy, especially if they didn't know their roommate when they moved in. We recommend that before they bring any valuables, any personal items, if it's serialized property, if it's a laptop, if it's a phone, if it's a camera, a TV, a bicycle, please write down that serial number. If you can take a picture of the item, that's helpful too, but definitely the serial number. You can Google that brand and it will tell you where the serial number was located on that item. And if you guys can keep that information where you keep valuables, passports, or what have you, if the item does get stolen, we can only give it back to the owner if we can prove its ownership. And the best way to do that, and almost the exclusive way to do that, is through a serial number. As far as cars, they need to park in well-lit locations, keep their cars locked, and please don't store personal property inside. Once again, I'm sure you've told them this, please reinforce it. I've seen a vehicle unlocked with thousands of dollars of cash sitting stacked in the center console from a student who'd gotten paid by their employer and figured they'd take it to the bank the next day and just left the money in there. It was hot night and left the windows open. So I happened to be just walking through the parking lot doing a check and saw that and had my dispatcher run the license plate, figured out who the student was, where they were, and went and knocked on their door and said, please come get your money, because someone's going to get your money. So I'd like you to get your money. And they did, and they were embarrassed, but it saved them losing that money. Same thing with windows. They should be locked, especially when they're away. Going back to the last one for just a second, bikes as well. Our #1 crimes on campus are going to be theft-related crimes, which is good in that it's not interpersonal crimes like robberies and such, but it's bad if you're the person who got your stuff stolen. So bikes are our #1 item that is stolen. And we ask for our students that are coming to really ask themselves, are they going to use a bike? If you're going to use a bike, by all means, bring your bike. But if students are just thinking, I'm going to college, I have to have a bike, and they didn't ride a bike before, they're probably not going to ride it here, especially with Uber and Lyft and all of those rideshare alternatives. So if they are going to bring a bike and it's a high-end bike, it's an expensive bike, please have them bring a good lock for it. We usually recommend the U-locks. They have like a U part and then a bar that slides on, as opposed to the cable locks, because the cable locks we found can get cut very, very quickly. We have video of a person, a bike thief, riding up, jumping off the bike he was on, pulling bolt cutters out, cutting a cable lock, putting them back in his backpack and getting on the new bike in 8 seconds. So we're out there, we're proactive, we're driving around, but we're not always going to catch people that can do something that quickly. So that's my plug for bikes. And once again, please write the serial number down. As far as parties and drinking, we know a lot of our students that are coming in are going to be under 21. Most of them are going to be under 21. We do not encourage or support or condone underage drinking, but we do know that there is a lot of alcohol in Chico. And so we just ask our students to really be cautious, make sure that they know their limits, make sure that they watch watch out for each other. If there's a drink that's handed to them and it is open, it's trash. We tell them, just dump it out. You don't need to take anything that was open. But we don't, statistically, anecdotally, we don't see a lot of date rape drugs. We just see a lot of people drinking too much alcohol, way beyond what their bodies can handle. And on those weekend nights and such, we're out there a lot. We're driving around, we're looking for people that are intoxicated in public, and who need some kind of an intervention, or they're going to end up becoming a victim. So that is one of our big concerns on those weekend nights, and we're very, very proactive and vigilant for that. People always ask us about good and bad parts of town, like what's a good part of town, what's a bad part of town. It's a hard question to answer. Generally, every year, new groups of students move in, and there's like, this might be the bad apartment complex last year, and then this year it's better. So what I recommend that you do, if your students are going to be coming up here, if they are going to be living in off-campus apartments and you're concerned about that, I recommend that you come into Chico and you come on a weekend night and you get a hotel, and then you drive around that area and you see what that area looks like, because how it looks during the day is not generally how it's going to look at night, or maybe it is, which would be even better. But look at and ask yourself, are you comfortable? Is your student comfortable living in that location? Because I can answer what would work for me, but that might not be the same for you. And also remember that within that mile radius of every border of the campus, you've got the dual patrols of the university police and the city police. So we're there as well, kind of driving around. Your students should know where the emergency room is. It's only about 5 blocks from the north border of the campus, so the ER is close by. Fire safety, we're very, very vigilant about fire safety given the recent history of our area. So we do a lot of fire drills, fire alarm tests on campus. We know it's kind of annoying to the students, but anybody who was here in 2018 and went through what we went through will understand why fire safety and having fire plans is really, really important to us. And I guess the last one there just goes back to valuables again. Once again, that's our number one crime, would be property related. And, you know, if students lock stuff up, if they have those serial numbers, that would probably be the best way to keep that stuff safe. And I know we're really close to being out of time, so I want to leave time for any questions. Is there anything in the chat, Leanne?
Yeah, there's one question
Yes.
in the chat. And I think they're referring to the parent portal from earlier, so I'll let you answer it. But if you're not sure, I think I can touch on it too. In order for a parent to opt in, we need to use our own student's login and password, or we create our own. And that might be referring to the emergency notifications.
Yeah, I think that's referring to the Chico State Alerts. Do you know if parents can opt into that? My understanding is only the students can, but the students can put alternate numbers.
Yes.
So you're going to have, your student's going to have to enter your number, but please remember, if you do that and then you get a random message saying there's a gas leak at the corner of 3rd and Walnut, and you're going, why did I get this? That's why. So it's going to be notifying of usually weather or environmental related issues like that. Was there another gentleman with a question?
Yeah, we have 2 in the chat. From 1 to 10, how safe is campus and its surroundings?
It depends what people mean by how safe it is. I think it's safe. Like I said, we're out there, we're proactive. If somebody calls and reports something, we go check it out immediately. I would say that it's safe. I don't know if I could put a number on it, but I would say it's on the higher end of that, probably